A betrayal in the night. The call came just past midnight, slicing through the silence of my apartment. I barely registered the name on the screen before answering. "Kelly, it's your mother," came her breathless voice, urgency woven into every word. "It's your father. You need to come home now." My stomach twisted. "What happened?" She hesitated. "We'll explain when you get here." The line went dead. A chill crept up my spine. My father had always been the foundation of our family. Strong, unwavering, never showing weakness. If something had happened to him, if he was sick or worse, I shoved aside the rising dread, grabbed my jacket and keys, and rushed out the door. The drive to my parents' estate took over 3 hours. Each mile tightened the knot in my chest. Heart attack? Stroke? A sudden illness? My mind spiraled through the worst possibilities. But when I arrived, the news waiting for me was far worse than I could have imagined. As I pulled into the long driveway, my pulse pounded against my ribs. The estate stood as it always had, grand, imposing, untouched by time. Yet something felt off. The front windows glowed warmly. Laughter drifted into the cool night air, and soft music played from within. This didn't feel like a house in crisis. I stepped inside, bracing for grim faces, hushed whispers about my father's condition. Instead, I walked into a celebration. By the grand fireplace, my mother stood smiling. Across the room, my father, very much alive, raised a glass in a cheerful toast. Guests sipped wine, engaged in light-hearted conversation. And at the center of it all were my younger siblings, Michael and Sandra, grinning like they had just pulled off the perfect trick. I froze. "What is this?" My voice cut through the air, sharp and unsteady. My mother turned to me, beaming. "Oh, sweetheart, you made it. We have exciting news." Her words barely registered over the roaring in my ears. "Mom," I said slowly, "you told me Dad—" "Oh, we just needed you here as soon as possible," she said with a dismissive wave. "Now, come, let's talk." I clenched my jaw but followed her through the house, past murmuring guests, until we reached my father's study. The dim room smelled of aged books and expensive whiskey. My father settled behind his massive desk, his expression unreadable. Michael and Sandra strolled in next, smirking as if they were in on some grand secret. Then my father spoke. "We've updated the will," he announced, his tone as casual as if he were discussing the weather. "Michael and Sandra will inherit the entire estate." For a moment, I thought I had misheard. "What?" My voice came out hoarse. My mother sighed, as if she were the one suffering. "Kelly, you're successful. You have your own career, your own apartment. You don't need the estate. Michael and Sandra, on the other hand, require more support for their futures." A bitter laugh escaped me. "Support? You mean like how I covered Michael's failed business loans? Or how I paid for Sandra's luxury education overseas?" Michael swirled his wine glass lazily. "Well, you always did like playing the big sister role." Sandra chuckled. "Considerate redistribution. The money went where it mattered most." Something inside me snapped. Years of sacrifice, of being a dependable one. And this was my reward? My father's gaze remained steady. "It's final, Kelly. There's no discussion." I exhaled slowly, forcing down the bitter lump in my throat. Then I straightened, meeting their eyes with cold resolve. "I see," I said quietly. "Well, in that case, I'm done." Their smirks faltered. "What do you mean, done?" My mother asked, suddenly wary. I took a step back, my voice like ice. "I mean, if I'm not family enough to inherit, then I'm not family enough to fund your lifestyle anymore." Silence. Then Michael scoffed. "Don't be dramatic." I turned on my heel and walked out of the study, past the guests who now felt like strangers, past the chandeliers that had once symbolized home, out the front door and into the night, my pulse steady, my mind clear. They had made their choice. Now, it was time for me to make mine, and they were about to learn exactly what that meant. I sat at my desk, fingers hovering over the keyboard, heart pounding with cold determination. The estate wasn't mine? Fine. But my money wasn't theirs either. Breaking free, I accessed the shared accounts, ones I had foolishly allowed my parents to use over the years. With a few keystrokes, I cut off their access. The transfers stopped instantly. Next, I revoked the tuition payments, still covering Sandra's final semester. Then Michael's business loan, the one I had co-signed to keep his company afloat. I formally withdrew my financial guarantee, ensuring I was no longer responsible for his debts. My phone buzzed. Mom. I ignored it. Then the landline rang. Another call. And another. I let them all go to voicemail. A new email popped up. Michael, you're acting like a child. Don't be petty. I smirked and typed a simple reply. Enjoy your inheritance. You'll need it. As I hit send, a loud knock rattled my apartment door. My stomach clenched. I didn't need to check the peephole to know who it was. Mom. I pulled open the door, and she stepped forward, eyes wide with feigned concern. Kelly, honey, we need to talk. No, we don't, I said, gripping the doorframe. Her expression hardened. You can't just cut us off. We're family. A bitter laugh escaped me. Family? You only ever saw me as a bank account. Michael and Sandra. I cut in, have their inheritance. Let them figure it out. For the first time, I saw a true panic flicker in her eyes. But I didn't care. I stepped back and closed the door. And for the first time in years, I felt free. The fallout happened faster than I expected. By morning, my inbox was flooded. Mom, you're tearing this family apart. Dad, all right, you've made your point. Now, fix this. Michael, you selfish brat. Do you think this is funny? Sandra, you're ruining my life. My tuition. I sipped my coffee, unmoved. Let them panic. Then the doorbell rang. I ignored it, but the pounding followed. Kelly, Michael's voice, sharp with rage. Open the damn door. I took my time, finally cracking it open just enough to see his flushed face. Problem? He shoved a stack of papers toward me, his defaulted loan notice. Fix this, he demanded. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Why? You're the important one, remember? His jaw tightened. You don't get it. If I go under, it affects everyone. Not me? Sandra appeared beside him, eyes brimming with fake tears. Kelly, please. My semester. I held up a hand. Not my problem. For the first time, they had no control over me. I stepped back and shut the door in their faces. And this time, I didn't feel a shred of guilt. Late that night, a new email arrived. Desperate, panicked, gone was my father's usual commanding tone. Instead, his words trembled with fear. Michael had squandered the estate on reckless investments. Sandra's lavish spending had drained what remained. They were drowning, and I was their last hope. I stared at the message, unmoved. After everything, they still believed I would save them. An hour later, my phone rang. My mother's voice wavered. Kelly, sweetheart, we made a mistake. We should have been fair. If you just help us now, we'll reconsider everything. I exhaled slowly, gripping the phone. This wasn't regret. This was survival. You never tried to work, never tried to support yourselves. I said calmly, you're not old. Get a job. It might even be interesting. Silence stretched long and cold, then a sharp intake of breath. You're abandoning your family, she hissed. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. No, you abandoned me the moment you decided I was nothing but a wallet. I ended the call, feeling nothing but relief. Since I was disinherited, I sent them a detailed invoice, years of unpaid expenses, bills, and financial support I provided for Michael and Sandra. Total, $997,000. Let them finally realize that money didn't fall from the sky. At the same time, I booked a luxury vacation in Miami. The morning air smelled of salt and citrus as I stepped onto my hotel balcony, watching the waves crash against the shore. A new beginning. My beginning. My phone vibrated. A new message from my mother. I didn't bother reading it. I blocked the number. The final thread severed. A soft chuckle escaped my lips. How quickly the tables had turned. For years, they drained me dry, believing I would always be there to catch them. Now, they were drowning in the very greed that had driven me away. A knock at my hotel door pulled me from my thoughts. My best friend, Leela, peeked in. "Come on, Kelly," she grinned. "Enough brooding, we have a yacht to catch." I laughed, grabbing my sunglasses. "Let's go." As I stepped outside, the sun kissed my skin, the ocean breeze tangled in my hair. For the first time in my life, I was truly blissfully free. What do you think of this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Want more stories like this? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. See you tomorrow.